Perfect. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to interrupt, ask. I'd rather you guys ask a pertinent question than feel awkward, even though we're doing the hybrid thing. So I kind of wanted to, first off, just thank you for hosting. I really appreciate you guys' time. I think that the broadcast industry is a really great place for SurgeX. So really thank you, Taylor, for setting this up and giving me the opportunity to talk about SurgeX. So just a quick introduction for myself. My name is Morgan Alley. I'm the Central Regional Sales Manager for SurgeX. Based in Denver, Colorado. I conned my wife into 3 dogs. So when I'm not traveling, I'm either snowboarding or wrangling my 12 paws at home with my wife. How familiar, if at all, are you guys with SurgeX? Does anybody have any familiarity with the brand?
I do. One person in here.
Hey, that's perfect. New ears. So to give a little bit of history on SurgeX, we were acquired by AMETEK in 2016. AMETEK is a global manufacturer of electrical instruments and electromechanical devices. So underneath that umbrella, SurgeX is our brand that manufactures exclusively power filtration, power protection technology as well, for multiple industries. So we really have a big home in the commercial and residential audio video world. We play nicely in IT and as well in broadcast. And I think broadcast, broadly speaking, for us is a really great fit because we really focus on mission critical. So in terms of our primary differentiator and what our brand is synonymous with is really best in class power protection and filtration. So we are the only manufacturer in the world that can truly claim surge elimination technology without any sort of ground contamination. So that's really our bread and butter, is that top in class. But under AMETEK, we do have a couple sister companies. PowerVar, notably speaking, was acquired by AMETEK in 2013. PowerVar is a provider of power management systems and UPSs. Their products are primarily sold into medical and IT markets, but they do also focus in best-in-class UPSs and isolation transformers, as well as power conditioners. They're really industrial grade, so they're a very big cut above what you're going to see in the consumer grade or what's spec'd even in most IT, AV, and broadcast scenarios. But what that really means is, as a sister company, when it comes to UPS technology for mission critical spaces, we can provide any UPS solution. You can get those PowerVar UPSs through us at SurgeX. So knowing that oftentimes your spaces can't fail, keep that in your back pocket. If you need any sort of battery backup, we can help out there. We do all sorts of things from off the shelf to custom solutions. Currently, being a Denver boy, I'm working with a AV dealer to quote out the Broncos stadium, and they're looking for a UPS that can power all of their broadcast and lighting equipment for something like 4 hours, which is insane on a battery backup system. So you're talking multiple room sized battery systems. So we can do something that complex or outrageous, or as simple as something in a conference room in a credenza for a meeting like this. But with the team between SurgeX and PowerVar, we can really offer clients the best in power protection between both UPSs as well as PDUs and sequencers. Ultimately, our goal is really quality and protecting our dealer's brand image. So the less that your equipment goes down, the better that you look ultimately, and the happier that your customers and end users are. So this is kind of a graph to explain what is causing, or not causing, but what the impacts are on the business for customer experience with power disturbances. This was created from some data that IBM produced on the economics of IT risk in reputation. It shows the that's substantial disruptions in any system will have costs associated with your brands. As you can see, the realized cost isn't necessarily completely obvious. Always, you have some situations where, downtime and service costs add to, a lack of profitability. But what's really interested is that when IBM did their research, they found that over 37% of the cost associated with power issues came from reputation and brand damage. I think we can all probably think of times in our own lives where we've seen power disruptions cause problems. I'm sure in your world, it's a little bit more acute. I immediately think of the Super Bowl 5 or 6 years ago where the power went out. I think it was the 49ers. Anytime that you have a disturbance, especially in these mission critical spaces where you guys are broadcasting live or doing something where you only get 1 or 2 takes, that affects your brand. And we're here to help really make sure that you're not experiencing those problems. So the next question is really, what are the big sources of system disruption for power disturbances? We break it down into 4 separate categories, really. So in terms of our power disturbances that have been documented by both power companies as well as university research, we see that these disturbances negatively impact individual components inside of electronics. During a power disturbance, the absolute maximum specification of an individual component inside of any piece of electronic equipment, if that is exceeded, that's going to be one of the biggest problems that we run into. In the semiconductor industry, we refer to this as electrical overstress, or EOS. EOS at the component level leads to equipment malfunction. And those categories that we really focus in on and how we bucket that out is immediate, which is kind of the one that everybody thinks about. Immediate is going to be one big event, and immediate disturbance is going to be something like a massive surge or a really big sag. You'll notice surges, equipment pops and breaks and instantaneously dies. With a really bad sag, you might have some other sort of a failure immediately. But the 2 other categories that power disturbances cause damage to electrical equipment are going to be premature end of life, as well as lockups or quality issues. So premature end of life is exactly what it sounds like. If you're putting expensive electrical or electronic equipment on the grid and you're having power disturbances over time, it's going to just degrade those internal components. This is the majority of what power disturbances cause in terms of actual failure, is that premature end of life. It's relatively smaller of a category when you have those immediate end of life, those big instances. In terms of your day-to-day operations where power really affects what you're doing and interacting with your technology on a daily basis, is going to be lockups and quality issues. So I'll go into a job site with somebody and ask a simple question, which is, do you have any problems with power? And most of the time somebody reaches over to the wall and flicks a switch on and off and says, nope, see, my light works. And they don't really understand the nuance that a dirty grid or a dirty power supply is actually causing to their equipment. So the most common problem that we face are lockups. And so when you have ground contamination in particular on your ground how technology has always worked, even from the big tubes now to tiny microprocessors. It's all running off of zeros and ones. And the zeros are, physically speaking, based off of your ground level. So if you have contamination ground, a microprocessor can oftentimes read a 0 as a 1, which is even more a problem nowadays as equipment becomes more and more finely tuned. So what that looks like to a customer is the common phrase that anybody who's ever worked with in IT has heard is, have you tried turning it off and then right back on again? Those times when your electronics just seize up and stop functioning temporarily and all it takes to power cycle are majority of the time caused by power disturbances. And that's why just simply power cycling fixes the issue.
I'd like to make a comment about what us broadcast engineers face. Many times the El Cheapo UPSs, the $100 ones, get used, and they turn out to be the failure item because they're not very reliable. So there's a product on the broadcast market now, and I can't remember the name of it, but basically it goes between the equipment, the UPS and the equipment, and it restores utility power to the equipment when the UPS fails.
So we have a couple different tricks up our sleeve that can do the same trick. There's a number of different actual technologies that can drive that. But yes, when you're talking about a really nice broadcast environment and somebody throws $100 UPS in, you don't know how clean the power is coming out, or if that UPS itself is the thing causing problems. When we get a little bit further through, I'll show off some of our UPSs that are the SurgeX brand UPSs. But just keep in mind with PowerVar, literally, if you need a UPS, we make it and we can get you anything you need. You just need to let us know what the specifications are and what the load is, and we've got it. We don't keep all of those UPSs on our line card because that would probably 1,000 times our line card on the SurgeX side, but keep that in your back pocket. We can definitely help out with any UPS. So all of this is to say that if rebooting equipment is required to get a piece of electronics back into a working state, then it's probably been exposed to some sort of power disturbance, whether from a cheapy UPS or something else that's happening in your system. So this is kind of our primary differentiator on the SurgeX side, is our surge elimination technology that I referred to earlier. This reactor core that you can see on the left is really our core differentiator. So what this does is it eliminates transient surges from the power line while letting a 60 hertz, 120 volt sine wave through to load. On the right, you see this little yellow circle. That's called an MOV, or a metal oxide varistor. They are essentially what 99.9% of the market is using for surge protection. MOVs are literally just a little piece of metal wrapped in a coil that is designed to disperse some energy, and over time, they're designed to fail. You can see being a self-sacrificial product and diverting energy, you're not A, looking at longevity, and B, you are contaminating ground, which causes a lot of those lockups. Whereas our reactor core, we call it advanced series mode, is non-sacrificial and completely eliminates surges. We are rated up to 6,000 volts of a surge, and that's a really important number to keep in mind. The reason that we rate our or that we have our surges protected up to 6,000 volts is that the US standard for wiring requires electrical wires to hold up to a 6,000 volt load. So anything past 6,000 volts and your wiring is likely just burning out to begin with. So past 6,000 is not particularly relevant in the majority of cases, unless you're in a heavy industrial kind of application. So to make a long story short, we're not self-sacrificing, and we do true surge elimination without contaminating ground. Just to kind of dive into what the rest of the market is doing, these MOVs wear out, and as more and more surges are diverted, the lifespan is reduced until it just completely fails. How many surges an MOV can take is really varied between just how intensive a surge it's been or how cheaply it's been manufactured. On average, an MOV costs 5 to 10 cents to be manufactured. These have been around since the late 60s and have not in large part been innovated upon. So we're talking about extremely outdated technology. When we're at AV shows, we'll oftentimes have a unit with us that we call Big Bertha. Big Bertha is just a big box that makes 6,000 volt shocks. And we'll take our advanced series mode product and every 45 seconds shock it all day long, getting hundreds of these events happening. And they just hum along, have no problems. At the end of the day, you can smell some burning and hear some explosions, because we'll take our competitors and the MOV products and we'll hook them up to Big Bertha and throw one 6,000 volt shock through them and watch them explode. So it's a pretty big difference.
I got a question for you. Going back to this term, ground contamination. Is that what you had? How
yeah,
do you
absolutely.
define that term? What do you mean by that?
So that's actually a really great great segue, Mark. I appreciate it. You're just laying me up today, buddy.
Okay, yeah, right.
So when it comes to ground contamination, right here, I have a diagram of how most MOV-based surge suppressors work. They'll actually take the surge from line, and you can see on this wiring diagram, when they're diverting the electrical energy, they're diverting it into the ground. So any sort of a ground contamination is going to be a signal that is getting pushed into ground. So in a perfect world, mathematically speaking, the difference between line and ground should zero out. When it comes to how it functions in reality is nothing's a perfect circuit, and energy is getting diverted through various mechanisms. So you end up with some voltage on ground. So ground contamination is really just additional voltage that has been diverted in some way, shape, or form to ground. And when you're talking about these malfunctions, going back to how microprocessors work, they zero to ground. So if you have that contamination, that extra voltage in ground, that's why ground contamination matters, and on a basic level, what ground contamination is. So does that answer your question, Mark? I'll take that as a yes. But looking at the wiring diagram of how most MOV-based surge suppressions devices work, you're going to see that most MOVs will protect all of the different modes on an electrical circuit: line to neutral, neutral to ground, as well as line to ground. Some devices will emit one or two of these. But essentially speaking, during normal operation, you can see how the electrical current sine function works. It just passes straight through the system cleanly, evenly. This is when we're not having problems. Now, what happens when there is a surge in one of these systems and it exceeds the threshold for the MOV? The voltage rises above the clamping voltage, that threshold that the MOV has, and it draws even more current. So what the MOVs do will dissipate current, and you can see with our arrows that we have set up here, the path that electricity takes. It'll oftentimes divert directly into ground, and you can see with our red arrow here how it'll actually oftentimes produce an electrical current that will go in the reverse of your circuit. Obviously, that can cause quite a bit of a hiccup with your technology. With MOVs, you're just looking at a really outdated type of technology. It's great for the cost-effective market in your house. But when we're talking about sensitive and expensive equipment, you're literally leaving 5 to 10 cents worth of metal to protect oftentimes tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars of sensitive equipment. The next thing to really think about that I spoke earlier about is our surge elimination versus MOVs, which have a substantial amount of let through voltage. So if you look at the two sine waves, the input and the output, obviously the spike, once it's gone through an MOV, has been greatly diminished, but there's still a spike in that sine wave. We call that let through voltage. So even though it's dissipated and diverted energy, it's still letting a sometimes substantial amount of let through voltage through, whereas our reactor core does not allow let through voltage. Again, up to 6,000 volts. But if you have a more than 6,000 volt problem, your wiring is probably on fire and you've got bigger fish to fry. MOVs can only be used for short surge protection. They can't handle sustained surges or over voltage conditions. So an over voltage is when that sine function, it doesn't have a drastic spike, but the peaks and the valleys are much higher and lower. So that's what over voltage is. MOVs are not designed in any way, shape, or form to correct for over voltage, which again leads to equipment damage. They also become permanently damaged, not leaving any protection for your equipment. So if you have a couple surges or if you have an over voltage occurrence, the MOVs are going to burn out, and not function after a certain point. You will see in some manufacturers, their MOV based products will have an indicator where, say, if it's functioning right, you've got a green light, and the MOVs burn out, it'll switch to a little red light, or maybe it'll make a humming noise. That's the best case scenario, but in the majority of products on the market, they're not even going to tell you when those MOVs are burned out. So oftentimes you'll literally just have a surge protector that you've been using for years, and it's just completely doing absolutely nothing other than distributing power across a couple more outlets for you. So that's what we are up against and what we're differentiating ourselves against. Advanced series mode in our reactor core is what we are doing as a very big differentiator against the rest of the market. Again, we're the only manufacturer globally that can do this. The technology concept is similar to the way that noise canceling headphones work. Inside our reactor core, we have two opposing air core inductors. Line voltage enters our reactor, and it's a free surge of energy passing through untouched. When the line voltage has a surge, it'll pass through our first inductor, and through an electromagnetic field, will create a mirror image or an inverse and exactly opposite sine wave of the surge. So then when the waveform passes through the second inductor, it completely eliminates that surge voltage. The result of this is a perfect 120 volt waveform as it exits the advanced series mode reactor. And again, our surge energy is completely eliminated with no let through voltage. You can see on the AC output here on the sine wave, when it leaves our reactor core, there's no additional spike on that sine wave. So we're not actually letting through additional let through voltage. Unlike MOVs, our reactor core too is not dissipating energy through taking a hit into itself. It's actually just completely reversing that sign function. So that means that we have a permanent non-sacrificial product here. Again, really important in these mission critical spaces where you can't have failures. They're not designed to fail. They're designed to last. And at the end, we'll go over some warranty things that we offer. We really put our money where our mouth is at when it comes to our quality. So no ground contamination. Again, really, really important when it comes to how often you're getting lockups and happen to call your IT person and they say, hey, have you tried turning it off again and turning it on again? Or whatever the equivalent is in the broadcast world, whether you have to turn an entire system off and power it back on in sequence. Reducing ground contamination, or I should say eliminating ground contamination, will really, really help to stop those lockups and failures. So looking at just a stark comparison to what we're doing with surge protection technology compared to the MOV based technology, it's light years different. There's no real comparison. We're not talking apples to apples. This is apples to oranges, and you can see it there. I feel like we've already beaten you over the head with the differences, but yeah, we do elimination. MOV suppress. We're non-sacrificial. They are sacrificial, and we do not contaminate ground. But on the SurgeX brand, we have more than just advanced series mode. Advanced series mode is what differentiates us. That's what we exclusively do and nobody else can do. But we attack power protection from what we call our 360-degree approach, offering the most advanced protection in the market. And you can see on our products, we have these badges. You have ASM, EMI, ICE, CUVs. These are all of our different technologies. So when you're looking at a SurgeX product, you can see exactly what the power protection and just the technology that we have in the product is at a glance. Going through this, this wiring diagram here shows one of our main big selling products. We use this as an example of our 360 protection because it shows all of the different technologies that we have at SurgeX working in tandem. So stage one is that reactor core that I just described, blocking high frequency surge energy. Yep, all the same things that we talked about with the 6,000 volts and not degrading. We do have a stage two that is part of the ASM technology. If that reactor core has any imperfections whatsoever, obviously, mathematically speaking, the reactor should 100% zero out any surge. The reality is in the real world, there's always going to be little small variances. So to make sure that as it leaves the advanced series mode reactor, we always have 3 capacitors to dissipate any additional heat coming off of the system. And the heat transfer is so minimal that you don't need any sort of additional cooling device. Just those 3 black capacitors there are enough to take any of that additional residual energy out of the system and create a clean sign function. So as anybody who's worked with audio knows, noise can be a really big pain in the butt in any electrical circuit. So how we accommodate for noise, so this is just transient anomalies on your line, is we use an EMI RFI filtration, reducing common equipment failures with those reboots and lockups. If you're talking about an audio system, oftentimes if you have noise, you'll end up with humming on your speakers. So the EMI RFI filtration just clears out any noise that's going to be in the system. We have ICE. So ICE is designed to protect devices from inrush. You can think of inrush as when a product turns on, it'll have a really sharp pull of power, a really sharp draw as it turns itself on. ice we liken to a soft closed door. So instead of slamming the door shut and having this big event, all of that same power comes in, but it slowly gets turned on. So as all those capacitors are pulling in power, we use ice to reduce that additional wear on equipment. That just naturally happens whenever electronics get turned on. And then we have COOVs, and this is for catastrophic over or under voltage. So I showed you guys over voltage, where the sine functions, peaks and valleys are really high, and under voltage is the exact opposite of that. So COOVs detects over and under voltage situations and will automatically restart in case of that situation. They're generally not as dramatic as a massive surge in terms of degradation of equipment, but over and under voltage can instantaneously destroy equipment, but most of the time will just degrade the lifespan of the product, whatever it is that we're protecting. So we use all of these different approaches when it comes to how we eliminate surges and filter power from noise, inrush, and also that over under voltage. On our website, anytime you're looking at our products, you can see these badges here. We talk a lot about advanced series mode. That's our claim to fame. But we do have two other surge protection technologies in multi-stage and series mode. So multi-stage is our hybrid MOV based technology. It's not a traditional MOV. It's got an MOV essentially in a gas chamber. So they do wear down over time, but they're 10 to 100 times longer lasting and let even less let through voltage through the system. Series mode is the predecessor to advanced series mode. So you can think good, better, best. Multi-stage is good. Series mode is better. Advanced series mode is best. We realized about 15 years ago that the series mode technology was starting to age out, and we intentionally let our patent lapse. So you will find our series mode technology that we developed in other products, because we came to market with advanced series mode. We said, we'll let other people use our old stuff. So series mode is a non-sacrificial technology. That does offer elimination, but it does not offer, it offers elimination. There is some amount of let through voltage and ground contamination on series mode. How we actually, we already went through all the features of what we can do in terms of the power, the protection technologies, but we offer a variety of different form factors and functions of our products that are leveraging these core technologies, from power distribution, sequencing, IP-based control products. One of the things that we do very differently than other manufacturers on the market is we have a really big core focus on analysis and data of the actual power quality of an individual environment. All of this comes in various form factors. Basically, kind of pick your poison. We can pick and choose and figure out what the best technology is for you for any given environment. Our top selling product of all time is Access Elite. Access Elite, as you can see, our badges has ASM, EMI, RFI, COOVs, and ICE. So it's got the full 360 degrees of protection. The Access Elite is also IP addressable for two-way communication. It manages and monitors system energy usage. So going back to that analytics piece, we really do focus on analytics on a lot of these technologies, and our actual products have some sort of a built-in analytics here. Each of those individual outlets can be sequenced. So this is a PDU with 360 degrees of protection, but it's also a sequencer. So if you need to turn on your equipment in a sequence, we can do that. And we have a lot of integration with third-party control systems, primarily in the AV space, So Crestron, Control 4 are the two big ones that we have already built out modules for. Moving on, this guy is the remote turn on rack mount product. This is what those wiring diagrams showed earlier. Essentially, this is exactly the same thing as Access Elite, only instead of having an IP-based control, it has a Phoenix connector. In terms of sequencing, you can see those brackets around pairs of 2 outlets. You can sequence in pairs of 2, again, with just a very basic Phoenix connector. So if you need something a little bit more cost effective, or if you don't really care about the analytics and the IP control, our remote turn on rack mounts are the way to go to get that top in class protection. So same thing. This is our sequencer lineup. We have 1 and 2 rack unit options available with various outlet configurations for you. Again, 360 degrees of control or of protection here. The branch circuit is going to be one of our most unique product offerings. I liken this to somewhere between a professional and an industrial product. So this is actually installed at the branch level. So this is great for hard to reach places where you're looking to get surge protection. If you have an outdated building, or if you have some pesky noise that's not easy to kind of nail down and clean up, these branch circuits get installed at the branch level, and we have a number of different configurations. What you guys might see a lot of use for are going to be our standalone series. These are our bricks. They offer advanced series mode as well as the noise elimination technology. So these oftentimes are put inside of racks with some sort of a vertical PDU attached to it. We are working on this year vertical PDUs ourselves, which will also have protection as well as IP control. But for now, I think the standalone series is just a rock solid product. You guys probably can find an application for. We sell an outrageous amount of these guys. More in the professional AV space, but I'm sure there might be some sort of a form factor that you guys might find this. These flat packs, we sell a ton behind displays. You can see it's series mode. It's not advanced series mode, and it does have that, it does have that form factor that's really sleek and easy to hide behind products. We, on our smaller form factors, will put series mode in over advanced series mode because advanced series mode takes up a fair bit of space. So if you're trying to hide something somewhere, it's not the perfect technology for hiding it in a small space. At an even more entry level product, we have our multi-pack, kind of a variation of the flat pack, just with multi-stage. But we've also added cubes and ice in there to make it a better product, but still be a very cost-effective solution. Our Defender series is our cheap and dirty. If you're in an environment where budget matters, this is going to be better than the other MOV products on the market with our hybrid MOVs. But not every product or project has the budget for advanced series mode, and we recognize that. So this is our cost competitive piece. That's a rack mount, and it comes in a variety of different flavors. When you look under the hood of what we're doing compared to our competitors, you can really see the difference here. So this is a stack up of the remote turn on rack mount unit compared to a Middle Atlantic product. We show this just to say, hey, there is a price difference, but this is a massively different technology than what we're going up against. When you actually open them up, you'll see that difference in action there. That last one, the PD915R, is not a very fair comparison. So we've added the SP to show you a little bit more. And you'll notice some similarities here with the capacitors and some of the design functionality here. That SP version of Middle Atlantic's PD915R is using a derivative technology of the series mode. We do have a non-sacrificial technology here with the SP version. Like I said, with series mode, it almost eliminates, but it really doesn't truly eliminate those surges. So it suppresses, it does not eliminate, but this is a better comparison. When you're talking cost perspectives, between our 1115 and the 915 RSP, it's a nominal difference, but you're getting so much more out of our product than our competition. We use it Middle Atlantic. There's a bunch of different players out there, and you know, I'm not going to bore you with 30 different comparisons, but if you pop open the hood of any PDU on the market and you put it up against our Access Elite or our 1115, it's not going to stack up whatsoever. This right here is going to be our Defender series versus that 915. So even our entry-level product will beat the snot out of the entry-level products from other manufacturers. You can see that green circle, that is our MOV, as opposed to the little nickel of just, you know, some copper wiring. We have our MOVs in a gas tube, which drastically increases the production or the ability of the technology to produce surges. We are professionally graded. You can look at the certifications. We go through the UL certification process for everything that we do. So we back our product up by having third parties certify what we're doing. Envision, this is going to be essentially just a surge protector with multi-stage. So this is just an MOV product, but this is used for analytics. So you plug this into a wall, going back to when we talk about how people look at their, hey, how is your power? Oftentimes you turn on the light, turn it off, see it works perfect. Or you'll oftentimes have installers with some sort of a meter. They'll go up, they'll plug it in, they'll say, okay, cool, here's what's happening on this circuit right now. But what those meters don't do is collect data over time. So these Envision products, you plug them in and they collect data over 138-day time span. All you have to do is plug in the data cable that comes with Envision to a PC, and you can download, or a Mac, PC or Mac, and you can just download that data directly onto your device so you can see what's actually happening over time. And then this is the last PDU that I'll talk about, and we'll talk a little bit about UPSs, and I'll stop rambling. But this is the future of where SurgeX is going in terms of design philosophy. This is Squid. This is all that we're really focused on as a brand right now for the future of how we design products. So Squid was designed for the AV market. It is the only PDU that offers AC and DC power in the same chassis with IP control. So the Squid is the jack of all trades for us. And those vertical power strips that I was talking about earlier that we're working on are going to be based off of Squid. And when I say this is the design philosophy that we have moving forward, I'm not talking about the physical specifications of the device, but it's really the IT infrastructure behind it and the programming of the API of the Squid. So it has all of these different outlets. The 3 different flavors offer literally just a difference in DC. You have all 12 volt, all 24 volt, or 2 12s and 2 24 volts here. Every single individual outlet is controllable. So we offer you the ability to control the AC outlets, the DC outlets. If you squint, you can see there's going to be a 5 volt DC outlet as well, and 2 power only USB outlets. All of these are individually controllable. You can program this to turn on in sequence. You can program this to trigger events. So if you have an undervoltage or an overvoltage situation, maybe you have a sag or a brownout, whatever the problem is, you can program Squid to react automatically. And it plays really nicely on the network. It's got a really, really user-friendly GUI. I say that because as a stupid salesperson and not as a super technical guy, I can even get a Squid to function exactly how I want it. At my house, I have my networking equipment plugged into the Squid, and I have it programmed to auto ping 8.8.8. So that's just Google every 10 seconds. If my Squid doesn't get 3 responses in a row from 8.8.8, that means one of 2 things has happened. The world is over, probably not, or more than likely, I need to reset my router and my modem. And so my Squid, then if it doesn't get a response from 8.8.8, will shut everything down and reboot in sequence, timed with the appropriate gap between, so that I get less calls from my wife while I'm on the road saying, hey, Morgan, why is Netflix not working? That's obviously a super simple example, but in a professional environment, you can have it auto trigger so many different functions for any of the different places that it's analyzing power. On top of all of these different PDU functionalities that the Squid has, it also functions like a better and upgraded version of the Envision. So it will actually capture all of that data that you have of what's happening in your circuit. We have just all of the different things here listed. You guys can see basically if there is something related to power that you would want to have data on, the Squid is going to offer that for you. With really nice and easy to see graphs on the GUI. And we do have an open API. So we have a couple different companies that we work with for monitoring solutions. This does have drivers available for Control4 and Crestron as well right now. I know we're working on drivers, I know for Kramer, and I believe we're also looking at Extron here. Yes, Trevor, that's an awesome question. We are SNMP enabled on Squid. We focus a lot on the AV world, but the IT world is super important, and we do have that SNMP enabled. So that's Squid. This is the future of what we're really focusing on. Every single product that we are designing right now and working on right now is going to have that analytics, the IT-driven design philosophy behind it. So by the middle of the year, we're expecting to have the vertical rack strips. We are working on a rack mount version of Squid, and we have a couple other different form factors that we're kicking the tires on that are going to be either end of this year or early next year. But the 2 that I feel confident in actually talking about and discussing are those vertical rack strips and the rack mount products. Okay, so on the 240 volt to 200 entrance level, that's also an awesome question about Squid. So Squid is international out of the box. So we do have an entire division that is focused on Europe, Asia, Africa with a variety of different voltages. But Squid is our international product out of the box. You plug it in and you just jump onto the GUI and you click a setting and you can switch it from 100 to or 120 to 240 volts like that. Any of the other products that we offer, we do have a European or an African variation at 240 volts. But in terms of an actual American plug, you're not going to get 240 volts out of the rest of our products on the PDU lineup other than Squid. But yeah, that's a great question. And Squid does offer you that out of the box. And you'll notice too, like I said, our badges, you can see the protection technology on all of this. Squid really being designed for under conference tables. We didn't want it bulky, but we do have that multi-stage, not the advanced series mode. One of the other products that we're working on is an advanced series mode Squid. Surprise, surprise. So that's kind of our philosophy moving forward is the IP control is everything, monitoring is everything. We recognize that in most of the technology world, service is the name of the game. And we're really looking down the road to make sure that that's at least something that we can help out with in our little tiny portion of what you guys are doing. So, and great questions, guys. I really appreciate it. So Mark had asked earlier about some of our different UPSs. And the reality is we have three primary different ways of going at this. Our double online conversion creates that true sine wave. So that's going to help with just really clean power. And that double online conversion, Mark, is going to give you the uninterrupted power. So if you have a power event that goes down, it'll switch between, you know, the battery and the actual power coming into the system without any change in that output on the sine wave. We have the lithium ion line interactive isolation transformer, and we have our line interactive transformers as well. The line interactive product does have advanced series mode built into it, which is awesome. So you can actually have UPSs with that really top of the line surge elimination technology. So great question, Joe. Is our company looking into solar power conversion or with battery backups? No, we are not looking to be in the solar game directly, but basically, if you have something that's generating solar power and you need it to recharge a battery or run a system, whatever it is, we can help to clean up the power. We can help to design PowerVar. Our sister company can create custom products. So if you need something with a specific plug or a specific rating from your amps and voltage, we can always go and find you the right UPS for that battery backup. We're just not a solar company. So if you needed just the battery portion of it, we can absolutely help you with that. But in terms of the solar specifically, we're not going to delve into making solar panels, essentially. Like I said, these are the SurgeX branded UPSs on my line card. But if you have a UPS that you need that's not on our line card, we do have other options. These are our lines. We have 3 to 5 variations in each of them with different flavors. But because we just have so many UPSs at our disposal, it doesn't make sense for us to put all of them on our line card specifically. So if you need a UPS, just shoot me an email with the specs that you need, and we can do that for you. Going back to quality and our brand is quality. Our brand is top in the line, and we put our money where our mouth is. I said that earlier. Both our advanced series mode and our series mode products have lifetime warranties. They are not designed to fail. In 95% of the time, when we do have some sort of an issue, we'll just replace it. It's easier, frankly, for us to just ship a replacement than to try to get a technician out to fix something in the field. So on anything with advanced series mode or series mode, you do have that lifetime protection. Because when we say that it's not designed to fail, we mean it's not designed to fail. Most of our competitors that do MOV-based products offer 1 to 3 year warranty. 2 years, kind of the biggest one. On our MOV, our multi-stage product, we offer a 5-year warranty. That hybrid MOV is just so much different than what everybody else is doing. It lasts so much longer. Again, we put our money where our mouth is at. And what differentiates us even more so from our competitors is our 5-year $50,000 connected equipment protection. So if you, right when you install a SurgeX product, send us an email with a list of model numbers and serial numbers of connected equipment, you get a 5-year warranty. So if something happens to those from an electrical disturbance, we will warranty not only our product, but up to $50,000 of connected equipment. So again, we put our money where our mouth is at. We do have dedicated engineers, both on the SurgeX as well as the PowerVar side. So if you need help with consultation or designing, we have people that can assist you on that side. That normally comes more into play on the UPS world because, you know, maybe you need a product with XYZ specs and you don't want to look through the thousands and thousands of PowerVar model numbers. Shoot us those specs. We'll find the right piece. And if we haven't already designed a product off the shelf for it, we 99% of the time can custom fabricate it. The PowerVar team custom fabricates a massive amount of different UPSs from the aerospace field to medical field. So when it comes to precision, if you need something that's very, very precise, we can do it. But we also have those guys playing in that industrial and professional kind of quality space. So really anything you need on that, we can cover. Even if it's not on our lineup here at the SurgeX side. And that is what I came to talk about, gentlemen. I really appreciate your time. If you want to snap a picture of my contact details, you can email me any follow-up questions. If you want to get in contact with an engineer, if you need pricing, I can always go over, you know, how we go to market. In terms of purchasing from us, we are a distribution focused brand. We do not go direct to dealers. On the professional space, the residential AV world is a different ballpark altogether. But yeah, on anything on the professional side, we're working through distributors. And I'd be more than happy to talk to you guys if you need to get a purchase together on where to go. We have 4 different distributors in ADI, Starin, Accutech, and Herman. So, oh, sorry, and Liberty. ADI and Herman are the same thing. So, but yeah, any other questions, gentlemen?
What other spaces is AMETEK into? You folks seem to have a lot of offshoot companies such as SurgeX.
Yeah, so AMETEK siloed different brands into what we call business units. So we're part of PQS, Power Quality Solutions. We also have a sister company other than PowerVar, which is the company that made the Envision product. It's called ESP. So ESP is going to be our third sister company. We don't really talk about them as much because they're really focused on copy printer spaces. If you need super, super cheap, we do have that as well. It's just kind of not as relevant for what we're doing. AMETEK in general does everything from heavy industrial equipment manufacturing to really sensitive microchip manufacturing. Pretty much anything in the electrical or electromechanical world, we're probably playing in the space, whether that's from a finished goods perspective or from a parts perspective. So I think we have something like 45 different brands all over the place. But in terms of what I, on my side, help with is all those PQS solutions. So SurgeX being my primary focus, but PowerVar and ESP as well. If you guys want to look at our website and see kind of some of those other business units, I can always get you contact info, but I don't want to speak on something that I'm not informed on. So yeah, we have a crazy amount of other businesses that are all over the place.
Any other questions for Mr. Alley? Hearing none.
Perfect. Well, thank you guys so much. I'll leave this up sharing for a little bit longer so that you guys can grab my contact info. Again, Taylor, I really appreciate you setting this up. I appreciate your time today, gentlemen.
You still coming to the cities, even with a layover mess, or?
I am not 100% sure. As soon as I get off here, I'm gonna check to see what the current expectation is for me to get out there, and I may just rain check. I'll let you know as soon as I have figured out my flight situation, because I was planning on jumping back to Chicago for tomorrow, so I may just stay in Chicago. That being said, regardless, next time I'm out, I owe you a drink, Taylor, for the pain in the butt, and I really appreciate you, buddy.
Appreciate it, sir. Looking forward to it.
All right, thanks guys. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.